I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, methodically wiping away mascara-stained tears, while Knox's words all echoed through our bedroom door. Avery would have known how to handle that client meeting. My name is Genesis, and for the past 5 years, I've been competing with a ghost. My husband's perfect ex-girlfriend. Jen, come on, Knox called out. You're being dramatic. I'm just trying to help you improve. I opened the door to find him lounging on our bed, scrolling through his phone. By comparing me to Avery for the 1,000th time. Look, when Avery was in marketing, I'm not Avery. I cut him off, my voice steady, despite the storm brewing inside. And I closed that deal today, didn't I? Knox looked up, his handsome face twisted in that condescending smile I'd grown to hate. Pure luck. The client probably felt sorry for you. The familiar ding of his phone drew his attention away. A slight smirk played across his lips as he read the message. I didn't need to see the screen to know who it was. Your mother called earlier, I said, changing the subject. The family reunion is next weekend. Great, he muttered, still focused on his phone. Try to dress appropriately this time. Remember last year? How could I forget? Violet, my mother-in-law, had spent the entire evening making snide comments about my department store dress, while reminiscing about Avery's impeccable taste. Evan's bringing his new girlfriend, I mentioned, referring to Knox's younger brother. Your mother's excited to meet her. Hopefully she'll make a better impression than you did. Knox finally put his phone down. Speaking of impressions, Avery just got promoted to creative director at her firm. I felt my nails digging into my palms. And how do you know that? LinkedIn, obviously. He rolled his eyes. Don't start with your paranoid accusations again. The doorbell rang, saving me from responding. I headed downstairs, grateful for the interruption. It was a courier with a thick manila envelope. Signature required, the delivery person said, holding out a tablet. I signed quickly, noting the sender's name, Joanna Price. My heart skipped a beat. What's that? Knox called from upstairs. Just some work documents, I replied, slipping the envelope into my desk drawer before he could investigate. Later that night, after Knox had fallen asleep, I sat in our home office, reading through Joanna's package. My hands trembled as I examined each document, each screenshot, each bank statement. 5 years of being made to feel inferior, of being compared to the perfect Avery, of enduring Knox's family's disdain. It was all about to change. My phone buzzed with a text from Evan. You okay? Mom's been talking about the reunion non-stop. Says Avery might stop by. I typed back, I'm fine. Actually looking forward to it this year. Really? He responded immediately. That's unexpected. Let's just say I've learned to stand up for myself. About time, sis. Dad and I have your back. You know that, right? I smiled, remembering how Philip, my father-in-law, had quietly squeezed my shoulder at last year's reunion after Violet's particularly nasty comment about my career choices. Another text came through, this time from Joanna. Did you receive the package? Everything you need is there. Yes, I replied. Thank you. Are you sure about this? Absolutely. It's time everyone knew the truth about my dear cousin Avery and Knox. I closed my eyes, thinking about the reunion. For once, I wasn't dreading it. The evidence in my drawer would ensure this year's gathering would be very different from the last. Knox stirred in our bedroom. Jen, who are you talking to? No one, I called back, quickly deleting the messages. Just checking some work emails. Well, come to bed. And remember to set your alarm early. We have the breakfast meeting tomorrow. Try not to embarrass me like last time. I took a deep breath, touching the drawer containing Joanna's envelope. Don't worry, honey. I won't embarrass you tomorrow. I paused, allowing myself a small smile. I'm saving that for the reunion. As I climbed into bed, Knox already snoring, I thought about how quickly things can change. 5 years of suffering in silence, of being the family disappointment, the poor substitute for perfect Avery. It was about to end. They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but I was going to serve it in front of the entire Perry family, and it was going to burn. The coffee shop was nearly empty when Joanna slid into the seat across from me, her designer handbag a stark contrast to her nervous demeanor. "Are you sure we won't be seen here?" "Knox never comes to this part of town," I assured her. "He says it's too pedestrian for his taste." Joanna's laugh was bitter. "Sounds like him. Always thought he was too good for everyone else." She pulled out her phone, scrolling through messages. "Avery's been asking questions. She knows something's up." "Does she suspect you?" "No. She still thinks I'm her loyal cousin, who'll keep all her dirty secrets." Joanna's fingers drummed against the table. "Did you read everything I sent?" I nodded, remembering the shocking contents of the envelope. The bank transfers, the emails. I knew Knox was still in contact with her, but it's worse than I imagined. "Wait until you see this." Joanna handed me her phone. On the screen was an email chain between Knox and Avery from just 2 days ago. My hands shook as I read, "Everything's set for next weekend. Jen doesn't suspect a thing. Once the papers are signed, we can finally stop pretending." "Papers?" I looked up at Joanna. "What papers?" She leaned forward, lowering her voice. "Knox has been meeting with divorce lawyers. He's planning to blindside you at the reunion, claim you're mentally unstable. The whole family will back him up. They always do." The coffee turned bitter in my mouth. "And Avery, ready to make her grand return. They've been planning this for months." Joanna's expression softened. "I'm sorry, Genesis. I should have told you sooner." "Why are you helping me?" I asked the question that had been nagging at me. "Avery's your cousin." Joanna's face darkened. 3 years ago, Avery and Knox destroyed my business. They made it look like an accident, a bad investment, a market downturn. I lost everything." She pulled out another document. "This proves they orchestrated the whole thing." My phone buzzed, a text from Knox. "Where are you? Mom's called 3 times about the reunion. Handle it." "I should go," I said, standing up. "Knox will get suspicious." "Wait." Joanna grabbed my arm. "There's more. Remember that charity foundation Avery started? The one Violet's always bragging about?" I nodded. Knox's mother never missed an opportunity to mention Avery's philanthropic work. "It's a front. They've been using it to launder money. The proof is in those bank statements I sent you." Joanna's voice cracked. "My parents invested their retirement fund in that foundation. The pieces were falling into place. That's why you kept all these records." "I was gathering evidence for the FBI, but—" She hesitated. "Let's just say Knox has friends in high places, but a public scandal, that's something even he can't sweep under the rug." My phone buzzed again. This time it was Evan. "Mom's on the warpath. Says you're not returning her calls. Everything okay?" "I need to deal with Violet," I said, gathering my things. "Thank you, Joanna, for everything." "Genesis," she called as I reached the door. "Be careful, Knox. He can be dangerous when cornered." I drove home, my mind racing. In the driveway, I spotted Violet's luxury SUV. Perfect. Inside, I found her sitting with Knox in our living room, both wearing matching expressions of disapproval. "Finally," Violet said, her voice dripping with disdain. "I've been trying to reach you all morning. The reunion requires proper planning, something you've never quite grasped." Knox smirked. She was probably lost in another one of her work disasters. I thought about the documents in my desk, about Knox's secret plans, about years of enduring their condescension. A calm settled over me. "Actually," I smiled, "I was meeting someone who's very interested in attending the reunion." Knox's smirk faltered. "Who?" "Just an old friend. They have quite a story to share with the family." I turned to Violet. "You always say family gatherings are about truth and togetherness, right?" Violet's eyes narrowed. "What are you playing at?" "Nothing at all, Mother. In fact, I think this will be our most memorable reunion yet." I headed upstairs, leaving them exchanging worried glances. In our bedroom, I pulled out my phone and texted Joanna, "I'm in. Let's show them what real family loyalty looks like." Her response came immediately. Ready when you are. BTW, Avery just booked her flight. She's arriving Friday. I smiled, remembering Knox's words about the papers being signed at the reunion. He had no idea I was preparing some documents of my own. The stage was set. In 1 week, the perfect facade of the Perry family would crumble, and I would be there to watch it burn. The Perry family estate loomed before us, its manicured lawns dotted with relatives in their Sunday best. Knox adjusted his tie in the car's mirror. Remember to smile, and try not to mention your work. Nobody wants to hear about your little marketing projects. I smoothed down my carefully chosen dress. Designer, but understated. Whatever you say, dear. Evan met us at the entrance, pulling me into a warm hug. You look amazing, Jen. He whispered in my ear. Dad wants to talk to you later, privately. Knox was already heading inside, phone in hand, thumbs typing rapidly. Your mother's in rare form today, Evan warned as we walked in. She's been talking about Avery nonstop since breakfast. Right on cue, Violet's voice carried across the room. Oh, you should have seen the Foundation's latest project. Avery's done such wonderful things for the community. I caught Evan's eye, and he squeezed my arm supportively. Want a drink? Make it strong. As Evan headed to the bar, Philip approached me. My father-in-law's usual stern expression softened slightly. Genesis, a word in my study? I followed him down the hallway, noting Knox's suspicious glance in our direction. The study was exactly as I remembered. Dark wood, leather chairs, and walls of books that hadn't been touched in years. Philip closed the door. I received an interesting call from the Foundation's auditor yesterday. My heart skipped. Oh, numbers aren't adding up. He fixed me with a penetrating stare. But you already knew that, didn't you? Before I could respond, the door opened. Knox stood there, his face tight. What's going on here? Just showing Genesis my new first edition collection, Philip said smoothly. You never showed any interest in books. Knox's phone chimed. He glanced at it, then back at us. Mom's looking for you, Jen. Try not to embarrass me. After he left, Philip spoke quietly. Be careful, my son. He's not who I thought he was. Back in the main room, Violet was holding court. Remember when Avery organized that charity gala? Pure class. Speaking of which, Genesis, that dress is interesting. Thank you, Violet. I thought about wearing something more expensive, but then I remembered what really matters. I smiled sweetly. Like integrity. The room went quiet. Violet's face reddened. Genesis, Knox warned, appearing at my side. I spotted him checking his phone again. Over his shoulder, I caught a glimpse of the message. Everything's ready. See you soon. Evan swooped in with drinks. Hey, who's hungry? Mom, didn't you say something about a new caterer? As conversation reluctantly resumed, Knox grabbed my arm. What the hell was that? Just making conversation. Isn't that what family does? His grip tightened. Don't play games with me. What were you and my father discussing? Ask Avery, I replied softly. I'm sure she'll be here soon enough. The color drained from his face. What are you talking about? Knox, Violet called. Come tell everyone about your new project. He released my arm, straightening his tie. This isn't over. No, I agreed. It's just beginning. I mingled with relatives, playing the dutiful wife, while watching Knox grow increasingly agitated with each message he received. Evan kept me supplied with drinks and subtle support, running interference when Violet's comments grew too sharp. Did you hear? An aunt whispered, loudly. Avery's coming tonight. Violet must be thrilled. I checked my phone. A message from Joanna. She's on her way. Are you ready? Ready, I typed back. Did you send the other documents to Philip? Done. He's been reviewing them all morning. The doorbell rang. Knox's head snapped up, panic flashing across his face. Violet practically ran to answer it. But it wasn't Avery at the door. It was a courier, holding an envelope. Delivery for Knox Perry. Knox snatched the envelope, ripping it open. His hand shook as he read the contents. His eyes found mine across the room. Realization dawning. Everything okay, son? Philip asked, appearing beside him. Fine, Knox snapped, stuffing the papers in his pocket. Everything's fine. I sipped my drink, watching him rush out to the garden, phone pressed to his ear. Through the window, I could see him gesturing angrily. What did you do? Evan whispered. Just gave him a taste of what's coming. I checked the time. Avery should be here in about 20 minutes. That's when the real show begins. Jen, Evan hesitated. Are you sure about this? I watched Knox pacing in the garden, watched Violet fussing over place settings, thought about the years of humiliation and lies. Absolutely sure. I pulled out my phone and sent one final message to Joanna. Time to end this. Bring everything. The stage was set. All the players were in position. Now it was just a matter of watching it all unfold. Violet clinked her glass, gathering everyone's attention. Before Avery arrives, I'd like to propose a toast to family and new beginnings. Perfect timing, I murmured, standing up. I'd like to add something to that toast. Knox's head whipped around, his face a warning. I ignored him. Family is so important, I began, raising my glass. Especially when it comes to business dealings. Right, Knox? He took a step forward. I continued before he could interrupt. For instance, did you know that Knox recently made a very generous donation to a certain foundation? I pulled out my phone. $600,000, to be exact. Only it wasn't exactly a donation, was it, honey? Genesis, he growled. Shut up. It's fascinating, really. I turned to Violet. Your perfect son and his perfect ex-girlfriend have been quite busy. Would anyone like to see the transaction records? Philip cleared his throat. I've seen them. The room went silent. Violet's face turned ashen. What is she talking about, Knox? She's making things up, Knox snapped. She's jealous of Avery. She always has been. Am I? I projected the bank statement onto the wall using the family room's presentation screen. This is from last Tuesday. Notice the recipient. Evan whistled low. Holy shit. That's enough. Knox lunged for my phone, but Philip stepped between us. Son, he said quietly. Sit down. You're all believing her? Knox looked around desperately. Mom? Violet stood frozen, her toast forgotten. Knox, what did you do? Nothing. This is ridiculous. I'll have my lawyers. Your lawyers? I laughed. The ones you've been meeting with to plan my surprise divorce? Or the ones helping you hide money in Avery's foundation? Gasps echoed around the room. An aunt dropped her wine glass. You don't know what you're talking about, Knox sputtered. Actually, I do. I switched to another document. This is an email from you to Avery, dated 3 months ago. Should I read it aloud? Don't you dare. Once the money's cleaned through the foundation, I read, we can finally get rid of her. The family will believe whatever we tell them about her mental state. Violet finally found her voice. Knox, tell me this isn't true. Of course it's not true. He turned to the room. She's obviously fabricated all of this because she's jealous of Avery's success. Jealous? I switched to another document. Let's talk about success, specifically, how you and Avery orchestrated the collapse of her own cousin's business. What? Violet whispered. Ask Joanna, I said. Oh wait, you can't. She's been disinvited from family functions ever since her unfortunate business failure. Funny how that worked out. Knox's phone buzzed. He grabbed it like a lifeline. Then his face fell. Problem? I asked sweetly. Let me guess. Avery's not coming tonight after all? You bitch, he hissed. What did you do? Me? Nothing. But the FBI finds anonymous tips about money laundering very interesting. They're probably having a fascinating conversation with Avery right now. The room erupted in chaos. Relatives started shouting questions. Violet collapsed into a chair, and Philip moved to block the door as Knox tried to leave. You've ruined everything, Knox snarled, advancing toward me. You think anyone will believe you over me? I'll destroy you. Knox. Evan stepped forward. Back off. Stay out of this, Knox shouted. This is between me and my wife. Ex-wife, I corrected, pulling out one final document. I filed the papers this morning. My lawyers are much better than yours, by the way. Violet suddenly stood up. I need everyone to leave, now. As relatives hurriedly gathered their things, shooting shocked glances our way, Knox made one last attempt. Mom, you can't believe this. It's Genesis. She's never been good enough for this family. Avery would never. Enough, Violet's voice cracked. I've seen enough. Knox's phone buzzed again. His face went pale as he read the message. That'll be Avery's lawyer, I said. She's agreed to testify against you in exchange for immunity. Apparently, loyalty isn't her strong suit either. You planned this, he whispered. All of it. No, Knox, you planned this. I just made sure everyone saw who you really are. As the last relatives filed out, Philip placed a hand on my shoulder. You should go. The lawyers will handle the rest. I gathered my things, aware of Knox's defeated stare following me. At the door, I turned back one last time. By the way, I smiled at Violet. This dress? It's Avery's designer. I bought it with the money Knox thought he'd hidden from me. Consider it my parting gift to the family. The door closed behind me on Knox's howl of rage, and for the first time in 5 years, I felt free. The morning after the reunion, I sat in Philip's study, watching him pour 2 fingers of whiskey, despite the early hour. You knew, I said. You've known for a while. He settled into his leather chair. I suspected. The foundation's numbers never added up, but Knox always had an explanation. He slid an envelope across his desk. This arrived last week. I've been waiting for the right moment to show you. Inside was a letter from a private investigator. You hired someone to watch Knox. To watch Avery, actually, after what happened to Joanna. He took a long sip. I failed as a father. I should have seen what he was becoming. A knock interrupted us. Evan poked his head in. Mom's finally asleep. The doctor gave her something. He joined us, dropping into a chair. Knox hasn't come home. His phone's off. He won't be back, I said, checking my messages. Joanna says the FBI raided Avery's office this morning. Philip nodded grimly. Good. Though I suspect Knox has contingency plans. He does. I pulled out my phone, showing them another email. But so did I. Every account he thought was secret, frozen. Every escape route, blocked. The evidence isn't just with me. It's with journalists, lawyers, and federal agents. Damn, sis. Evan whistled. You really did think of everything. I had to. Knox always underestimated me. He thought I was too stupid, too weak to figure it out. I took a drink, welcoming the burn. That was his mistake. Genesis. Philip leaned forward. There's something else you should know. He retrieved another document from his desk. This is a copy of my will. I've made some changes. My hands shook as I read it. Philip, I can't. You can and you will. Knox forfeited his inheritance the moment he betrayed this family. You, on the other hand, tried to protect it. A commotion outside drew our attention. Through the study window, we saw Knox's car screech into the driveway. He stumbled out, disheveled and wild-eyed. I'll handle this, Evan stood, but I stopped him. No, it's time I faced him myself. I met Knox in the foyer. His expensive suit was wrinkled, his hair a mess. Where is she? He demanded. Avery, probably talking to federal prosecutors by now. You think you're so clever, he spat. You have no idea what you've done. That money wasn't just mine. I know exactly what I've done. I held up my phone. Just like I know about your offshore accounts, your shell companies, and the real reason Avery's last boyfriend disappeared. His face went white. How did you? Joanna isn't the only one who keeps records. Did you really think Avery trusted you completely? She's been documenting everything, Knox. Insurance, she called it. You're lying. Check your email. She sent you quite the goodbye letter an hour ago. He grabbed his phone, hands trembling as he read. With each scroll, his face grew paler. It's over, Knox. The money's gone. Avery's gone. Your reputation, definitely gone. I'll kill you, he whispered. I'll destroy everything you have. You can try. I stepped closer. But remember, I learned from the best. Every threat you make, every move you plan, I'm 2 steps ahead. Philip and Evan appeared in the doorway. Knox's shoulders sagged. The police are on their way, Philip said quietly. Don't make this worse, son. Dad, please. Knox's voice cracked. You can't let her do this to me. You did this to yourself. Sirens wailed in the distance. Knox made one last desperate lunge toward me, but Evan caught him, pinning him against the wall. You were right about one thing, I said, watching the police cars pull up. I'm not like Avery. I'm better, because unlike her, I don't abandon ship when things get tough. Officers poured in, reading Knox his rights, as they handcuffed him. As they let him out, he looked back one last time. I loved you once, he said. No, Knox. You loved what you thought I was. Someone you could control. That person never existed. After he was gone, Philip handed me another drink. You know this isn't over. There will be trials, publicity. I know. I took the glass. But for the first time in years, I'm not afraid. Evan checked his phone. Joanna's at the FBI office. She says Avery's singing like a bird. Of course she is, I smiled. Self-preservation was always her strongest trait. Through the window, I watched Knox's police escort disappear down the driveway. 5 years of manipulation, of being made to feel worthless, of living in Avery's shadow, all of it washed away in a single day. Philip raised his glass. To new beginnings. To family, Evan added. To karma, I said, clinking my glass against theirs. And to finally writing our own stories. The news vans had been parked outside my apartment for 3 days when Joanna called. Turn on Channel 7. Avery's about to make her statement. I flipped on the TV just in time to see Avery step up to a forest of microphones. Her designer outfit and perfect makeup couldn't hide her fear. I want to apologize to everyone affected by my actions. She's throwing Knox under the bus, Joanna said, just like we knew she would. My doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Violet standing there, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. I'll call you back, I told Joanna. Violet didn't wait for an invitation, pushing past me into the living room. Her eyes fixed on the TV, where Avery was still speaking. I trusted the wrong people, Avery continued, her voice breaking perfectly on cue. Knox Perry manipulated me, threatened me. Turn it off, Violet snapped. I clicked the TV silent, but left the images running. Why are you here? Knox's lawyer called. He wants to make a deal. She sank onto my couch. He's offering to reveal everything about the foundation if they reduce the charges. Let me guess. He wants me to vouch for him too? He's still my son, Violet whispered. The son who stole from his own family, who destroyed lives, who planned to have me committed. She pulled out a tissue, dabbing at her eyes. I enabled him, all those years, comparing everyone to Avery, pushing him to be perfect. She gestured at the TV, where Avery was now crying. And look what perfection got us. My phone buzzed. A text from Evan. Mom's headed your way. She's not handling this well. She's already here, I replied. The FBI found more accounts, Violet continued. Money that was supposed to be for children's hospitals, cancer research. Her voice broke. How did I not see it? Because you didn't want to. I sat across from her. You wanted to believe Knox was the perfect son, and Avery was the perfect almost daughter-in-law, and I was the problem. Genesis. She reached for my hand. I pulled away. No. You don't get to play the grieving mother now, not after everything. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was Philip. Knox is trying to cut a deal. Don't agree to anything. The TV showed Avery leaving the podium, reporters shouting questions. Violet stared at the screen. She looks just like she did 5 years ago. Perfect hair, perfect clothes, perfect lies. That's the difference between Avery and me, I said. I never pretended to be perfect. A commotion outside drew our attention. Through the window, we could see Knox's lawyer pushing through the reporters. He's coming here, Violet stood. Please, Genesis, just listen to what he has to say. Why should I? Because he's still your husband. Ex-husband, I corrected, pulling out my phone and dialing. Hello? Yes, Knox's lawyer is here attempting contact. No, I don't want to speak with him. Yes, this violates the restraining order. Violet's face crumpled. What are you doing? Protecting myself, something you should have done for your family years ago. We watched as police officers approached the lawyer, escorting him away from the building. My phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. You think you've won. This isn't over. Kai showed the message to Violet. Still want me to hear him out? She stared at the screen, shoulders slumping. I should go. Yes, you should. At the door, she paused. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. It's not worth much anymore. After she left, I called Joanna back. How did the rest of Avery's statement go? Oscar-worthy performance. But the FBI has her dead to rights. She'll say anything to save herself now. And Knox? His lawyer's desperate. They know we have everything. The foundation records, the offshore accounts, even proof of what really happened to Avery's ex. I watched another news van pull up outside. Think it's enough? With what I gave the feds, he'll be lucky to see daylight before he's 60. She paused. You know they'll keep coming after you, right? Knox, Violet, the lawyers. They won't stop. Let them come. I pulled out the final piece of evidence I'd been holding back. A recorded conversation between Knox and Avery, planning something far worse than financial fraud. I still have a few cards left to play. You're scary sometimes, you know that. I smiled, watching the reporters below speculating about Knox's fate. I learned from the best. They just didn't realize they were teaching me. My phone lit up with another message from Knox's burner phone. Last chance, take the deal. I typed back, you taught me well, honey. Never negotiate from a position of weakness. Then I blocked the number and called Philip. It was time to release the final piece of evidence. The perfect family was about to learn just how imperfect they really were. The courthouse steps were packed with reporters when I arrived for Knox's arraignment. Evan met me at the side entrance, looking grim. You okay? He asked, guiding me through the crowd. I will be once this is over. I clutched my bag containing the final evidence. Is everyone here? Mom's inside with Dad, and, he hesitated, Avery's here too. My steps faltered. What? Part of her deal. She's testifying today. Inside, the courtroom was already filling up. Violet sat rigid in the front row, Philip beside her, and there, in a conservative blue suit that probably cost more than my car, was Avery. She caught my eye and quickly looked away. 5 years of being compared to her, of living in her shadow, and now she couldn't even meet my gaze. All rise. Knox entered in handcuffs, his designer suit hanging loose on his frame. 2 weeks in jail hadn't been kind to him. His eyes locked onto mine, filled with desperate fury. The proceedings began, charges being read out in a monotonous drone. Money laundering, fraud, conspiracy. Then the prosecutor stood. Your Honor, we have new evidence to present. Knox's lawyer jumped up. Objection, we weren't notified. Overruled. Proceed. I pulled out my phone, sending a quick text to Joanna. It's happening. The prosecutor held up a USB drive. This contains recorded conversations between the defendant and Ms. Price, discussing not only financial crimes, but also the premeditated assault of Marcus Reynolds. Avery's head snapped up. Marcus, her ex-boyfriend, who had accidentally fallen down a flight of stairs 2 years ago. Furthermore, the prosecutor continued, we have evidence linking Mr. Perry to the systematic harassment and threatening of witnesses. Knox lunged to whisper to his lawyer, but the damage was done. Avery stood abruptly. I need to revise my statement, she announced. The judge peered over his glasses. Ms. Price? The accident. It wasn't an accident. Knox planned it. He said Marcus knew too much about the foundation. Chaos erupted. Knox's lawyer demanded a recess. Reporters scrambled for their phones, and Violet let out a choked sob. Order! The judge banged his gavel. Ms. Price, you understand changing your testimony could affect your plea agreement? I understand. Avery's perfect composure cracked. But Genesis was right. It has to stop. Knox exploded. You backstabbing bitch, we had a deal. Remove the defendant, the judge ordered. As officers dragged Knox away, he twisted toward me. You think this is over? I still have friends outside. You'll never be safe. Philip stood, his voice cutting through the chaos. Actually, son, you don't. Your friends received copies of everything this morning. Nobody's covering for you anymore. The color drained from Knox's face as he was led out. Violet rushed from the courtroom, Philip following slowly. Avery approached me, her designer heels clicking on the floor. I should have stopped him years ago. Yes, you should have. He said he'd destroy me if I ever. She swallowed hard. I was a coward. No, I corrected. You were just perfect at playing the victim. But now you'll have plenty of time to practice your role behind bars. She flinched. They promised immunity. For the financial crimes, Evan cut in. Pretty sure attempted murder wasn't covered. 2 FBI agents approached. Ms. Price, we need to ask you some questions about Marcus Reynolds. As they led her away, Evan squeezed my shoulder. You did it, sis. We did it, I corrected. I couldn't have managed this without you and Philip. Outside, the media frenzy had intensified. Joanna waited by her car. It's all over the news, she said, showing me her phone. Knox Perry, golden boy turned criminal mastermind. Avery Price, socialite conspirator. The perfect power couple's perfect downfall. And the Foundation's victims. The FBI's setting up a restitution fund. My parents' retirement might be saved after all. Philip emerged from the courthouse. Genesis, a word. He led me to a quiet corner. Knox made one last attempt, offered to reveal his remaining accounts in exchange for your testimony about his mental state. Let me guess, he's claiming temporary insanity. Was worth a try, Knox's lawyer said, appearing behind us. My client is prepared to be very generous. Your client threatened to have me committed. I cut him off. He planned to destroy my life. Tell him he can keep his blood money. I have something better. What's that? I smiled. My freedom. And the satisfaction of watching him lose everything. Just like he planned for me. The lawyer retreated, and Philip nodded approvingly. You know, I always wanted a daughter who could stand up for herself. Well, I said, watching Knox's lawyer hurry away. Better late than never. The moving truck pulled away from Knox's mansion. Now my mansion, thanks to Philip's revised will and the divorce settlement. Evan helped me carry the last box inside. You sure about this? He asked. You could sell it, buy something without the history, and let Knox win. I set the box down in the foyer. No, I'm done letting him take things from me. My phone buzzed, a news alert about Knox's sentencing. 25 years, no possibility of early parole. Below it was another headline about Avery's plea deal. 8 years for her role in Marcus's assault. The doorbell rang. Violet stood there, clutching her handbag like a shield. I wasn't sure you'd answer, she said. I almost didn't. She glanced around the entrance hall. The house looks different. I got rid of everything that reminded me of Knox. I gestured to the fresh paint, new furniture, clean slate. That's actually why I'm here. She pulled out an envelope. These belong to Knox's grandmother. I thought, maybe you could use them to make this place yours. Inside were antique keys, each with a small tag. The garden gates, I realized, the ones Knox kept locked. He never did appreciate beautiful things unless he could control them. Violet's voice cracked. Like you. Evan appeared with coffee. Mom, you okay? No, she admitted. But I'm trying to be. She turned to me. The Foundation's victims. They're being repaid? Every penny, plus interest. Philip made sure of it. Good, she straightened her shoulders. I've decided to sell my jewelry collection. Add it to the restitution fund. Mom, that's your inheritance, Evan protested. And I inherited it from a family that valued appearances over truth. It's time to change that. The sound of another car drew us to the window. Philip was walking up the drive, carrying files. The last of Knox's appeals was denied, he announced, joining us. And Avery's cousin Joanna, she's taking over the legitimate parts of the foundation, rebuilding it properly. Speaking of rebuilding, I said, showing him the keys, want to help me restore the gardens? I'd like that, Violet said quietly. If you'll let me. I studied her face, the genuine remorse, the hope for redemption. We'll see. My phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number. You won. Happy now? I showed it to Philip. Still trying to get to me from prison. Want me to handle it? No. I typed back, I'm not happy, Knox. I'm at peace. There's a difference. Then I blocked the number and turned to my new family. The gardens won't restore themselves. We walked out together, unlocking gates that had been sealed for years. Behind them, overgrown but alive, were roses, lilies, forgotten beauty waiting to bloom again. Genesis, Evan called from behind a hedge. There's something you should see. Hidden beneath tangled vines was a small greenhouse. Through dusty glass, I could make out abandoned orchids, still fighting to survive. Knox's grandmother's prized collection, Violet explained. He locked them away after she died. Said they were too much trouble. I used one of the antique keys. The door creaked open, releasing the scent of earth and resilience. They're like you, Philip observed. Stronger than anyone knew. Help me save them, I asked Violet. She blinked back tears. Yes, please. As we worked, clearing debris and letting light into forgotten corners, I thought about Knox in his prison cell, Avery in her designer jumpsuit, all their perfect lies unraveled. You know what Knox never understood, I said, carefully freeing an orchid from its bonds. Real beauty doesn't need to be controlled. It just needs room to grow. Evan grinned. Getting philosophical on us, sis? No. I stood, brushing dirt from my hands. Just speaking truth, something this family needed more of. This family, Violet repeated softly. You still consider us family, after everything? I looked at them. Evan with his unwavering support, Philip's quiet strength, even Violet with her difficult path to redemption. Family isn't perfect, I said. It's real, and real is better than perfect any day. The greenhouse door stood open, sunlight streaming in. Outside, the garden waited to be reborn. Inside, surrounded by survivors as stubborn as myself, I was finally completely free. So, I smiled, picking up my gardening tools. Who's ready to help me bring this place back to life? Their answers came not in words, but in actions. Hands reaching for tools, sleeves being rolled up. A family choosing truth over perfection, growth over pretense. And in that moment, revenge gave way to something better. Renewal.